What? Bang!
Pro Wrestling Podcast. Just when they think they got the answers, I change the question.
Rep, screw, rep.
Yeah! Woo!
Who are you to doubt El Dandy? Because this guy's a serious professional.
Did he do it?
Too hot to handle and too cold to hold. And I am Macho King Savage.
Shut your mouth, you thong-wearing fatty! I said WWE stands for... It's me, Austin! I will never retire!
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Hey, yo, Pro Wrestling Podcast listeners, welcome to the show. We don't sing it, we bring it. Help us out and click subscribe to show your support. Are you sick and tired? Every year, $60, $75, $100 for the latest and greatest wrestling video game, not to mention all the extra packs you got to buy and all that stuff if you really want to maximize the game. Stop immediately. Go to Wrestler Unstoppable, available exclusively through Facebook. app.wrestler.unstoppable.com, where you can create a wrestler, sign contracts, get into storylines, headline PLEs, even build your own corporation from the ground up. All included, Wrestler Unstoppable, available now, totally free, like I said, to all Facebook users at app.wrestlerunstoppable.com. If you want to become a member of the Pro Wrestling Podcast, maybe you want your name in the shout-outs like my good buddy John in Texas and my newest member of the Fro Patrol, Emily. Thank you so much, Emily, for joining the podcast family. I will always love giving shout-outs to all of our Patreon members. If you want to be one of them, then you got to pop over to our Patreon page at patreon.com/ProWrestlingPodcast. Sign up today. And if you'd like, we got loyalty rewards. If you are a $15 a month contributor, you can host a show with me. And if you're a $7.50 a month contributor, you can get entered into a drawing to also host an episode with myself. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Pro Wrestling Podcast. If you've got questions, comments, something you want to touch on in the day's news, rumors, whatever it is, the only way I'm going to be able to do that for you is if you give me a shout. Give me a call. The Pro Wrestling Sound Off line, 267-642-1160, and we'll get to those questions, comments, concerns, or whatever it is in a very near episode. Tonight, jumping straight into one of the big stories of the day, constant conflict in the world of professional wrestling, and this time it is between AEW and TNA. Now, for those who are not aware of what I'm talking about, there are so many independent promotions these days that often offer some of the dream matches you won't see on any one particular brand's television product because of exclusivity and contracts and things of that nature. But it has been like a long-standing tradition that you can go to other promotions, the ones that aren't going to get the national television exposure, and put on some real bangers. And, you know, we mentioned on a previous episode that there was a plan for MJF and Nick Nemeth to have a match. There were some other matches related to AEW talent and TNA talent. And this week, Carlos Silva, the president of TNA Wrestling, has pulled multiple talents from their potential matches and their appearances, especially over WrestleMania week, where we're going to see Moose was supposed to compete at Maple Leaf Pro. He pulled him from that show. They've added where Leon Slater was supposed to be facing against Ricochet from AEW. That was an absolute dream match. It's been promoted for weeks, and now that has been canceled. The MJF-Nick Nemeth match, I guess technically we don't have a guaranteed cancellation, but it's going to be. And people are hypothesizing a couple things that are very, very important here. One, Carlos Silva has attributed this to conflicts with partnerships, which if you read in between the lines there, he's not outright stating that WWE is a part of this. And look, in all fairness, I'm in one of those innocent until proven guilty kind of people, but this is screaming WWE involvement. Now, the other part of it is that, you know, with the college basketball playoffs and everything that's been going on recently, we had a situation that does not happen frequently anymore, not since way back when NXT and AEW were going head-to-head on Wednesday nights. we don't see a lot of wrestling programs that line up on the same evening and go head-to-head with each other and challenge for audience. But that is exactly what happened last week when the college basketball was playing, and they led after the basketball. They went into Collision. They moved Collision to Thursday night and went head-to-head with TNA Wrestling, and that is a problem for Carlos Silva. Now, look, is he doing like a knee-jerk reaction because for the first time in years they went head-to-head? Maybe, possibly. I don't know. But I think that would be a drastic reaction to something that really, if you think about it, is not entirely on Tony Khan or anybody in AEW for doing that. That has a lot to do with Warner Brothers Discovery and getting maximum exposure, to benefiting from the college basketball playoffs and things of that nature. But this now is costing fans, and it's costing talent. Fans who want to see these dream matches that, let's be honest, we're not going to see a partnership with AEW and TNA anytime soon, certainly not as long as they're aligned with WWE. So we're never going to get to see that Ricochet-Leon Slater match unless we do it in something like this, and now we're not going to get to see that. There were other independent matches at various promotions all through the next month and a half or so, especially during WrestleMania week, that have now been canceled, and that is all concerning behavior if you're a wrestling fan. It hurts the indie product. It takes great matches off the card for the indie fans. And here's the thing that really bothers me. These talents who wrestle for TNA, MJF kind of sounded off on his response on social media complaining about how they don't pay their talent anything and then it takes away a paycheck from them. I'm not going to go that deep into it. When you sign a contract to wrestle for somebody and you accept whatever money they're offering, you're making the most money you should be because you agreed to the terms. You should be making a nickel more than what you agreed to. However, if the terms of your contract allow you to perform outside of that footprint organization and you have a chance to make more money and you're not in a direct conflict with a match that is booked by your parent company, there should be no issue with these outside dates, especially since TNA typically has allowed their talent to perform. Maple Leaf Pro has run tons of shows, and there have been AEW and TNA stars on those shows. So there's no reason that they need to suddenly have this divisive relationship, but that's exactly what's happening. And so there are a lot of people within the industry who are very frustrated with this, and I'm not surprised. One of the matches, the Leon Slater Ricochet match, was supposed to take place at WrestleCon. Now that's not going to happen. MJF is furious, and he kind of rage baited a little bit, saying that TNA and Nick Nemeth were afraid, and that's why they canceled. That's really not what it is. We know that's not what it is. He's in character, but he was very vocal about his perspective on the way they get paid. Dave Meltzer put out his speculation that this is a WWE thing, and look, I don't know if that's accurate or not, but I think everybody is reading between the same lines and drawing their own conclusions and the same conclusions. And if this really is a WWE decision, it's bad business. Dave Meltzer comments about how bad a business it is. And not that I like to side with Dave all the time, but this is one time he's actually correct. This hurts too many elements of the business. And let's be honest, it's not like WWE was using Leon Slater right now. They have in the past, but not right now. There's no reason Leon can't get a payday. There's no reason that Ricochet can't get a payday. I don't know. It leaves a bad taste in your mouth. On that same vein, and not the same vein, but sticking with topic, Chris Jericho being back in AEW, I found it very interesting that on his podcast, JBL was discussing why he understands why Chris Jericho would go back to AEW over going to WWE, and it boiled down to some very basic things. One, he mentions, and I'm paraphrasing, that basically Chris Jericho has made a ton of money, and when you're young, yeah, you bounce around for the most money in contracts and whatnot, and you do that thing because you're building your nest egg. But Chris Jericho has been very good with his money, so it's not a money thing for him anymore. He's going to want to go places where he could do things that are fun, engaging, and exciting, and he could do that in AEW. Probably feels like he could do more of that in AEW than he can in WWE. He does have his crews that he is very passionate about. He does still perform with Fozzy. He does his podcast, all these things that are outside ventures that are revenue streams for him. So going to WWE where they restrict a lot of that stuff could be problematic for him, not in terms of the money so much, even though it would affect the money, but more about how he's able to express himself creatively in the twilight of his career. And to that point, he mentioned, JBL that is, that Jericho is in phenomenal shape. He always changes his look, reinvents himself, and there's no reason to force him into retirement. And that is the word coming out, is that WWE wanted him for a retirement tour where he would eventually lose to Gunther, which Gunther's like on a tear with doing that recently. And that may not be something he was interested in. Chris Jericho can still go. I get it. There's people who don't want to see him in AEW or don't want to see him in this, that, and the other. And whatever. That's the internet wrestling community, the people who tune in to shows like this, unfortunately. I hope I'm not offending anybody, but let's be honest. Some of us who are too smart for the business, we can't just go along, watch it, enjoy it anymore because we know too much about the business. And those are the people who usually are most vocal. That or they're just people trolling. So Chris Jericho wants to go someplace where he could do things that are meaningful and fun and enjoyable and exciting and allow him to be creative, and he's doing that. I did think it was weird to hear him reference The List this week on Dynamite, but he's having fun. So that's probably, and I agree with JBL, that probably is a huge part of why he went there instead of WWE. He could probably, whenever he decides he's ready to hang up the boots, he probably could go back to WWE and have one last run and a send-off and lose to somebody, put somebody over, probably get a Hall of Fame induction out of it. I hope he does, to be perfectly honest with you. But we'll have to wait and see. There's a lot that could still happen. We got to get into AEW Dynamite because there's a lot going on here. I'm going to start with something that really, I talked about on my previous episode, but I think is one of the real big pieces coming out of this is the fact that the TNT Championship has been vacated. Kyle Fletcher, that validates, if anybody was wondering if this was a serious injury or not, Kyle Fletcher's going to be out for several months. They expect him to be back before the end of 2026, but they got to do something with the belt. So the Casino Gauntlet is going to determine the new champion, and at Dynamite, we're going to get to see who's going to be engaged in that opportunity. But before we get to that, we open the show with the Death Riders and the United Empire. Great stuff, hard-hitting. Like, I absolutely love everything they're doing with this, even though I'm not a big fan of the whole Will Ospreay and John Moxley thing right now. I don't know. I'm just not feeling that part of it, but I love all this other chaos. Everything, all the way down to Alex Windsor taking out Marina Shafir. Like, all this stuff. Very good stuff. After that's when we got the announcement about the Casino Gauntlet match at Dynasty and Don Callis confirming the injury and whatnot. And it's really a shame because Fletcher and Okada were supposed to face the Young Bucks at Dynasty. And so instead it's going to be Okada teaming up with Takeshita, which there's some underlying dissension between the two of them, which could lead to some really cool storytelling. We did get Jack Perry, Brody King, and Darby Allin against the Don Callis family. And look, right now, the Don Callis family is as hot as it's going to get. I was not surprised to see them win. I'm really not. You're kind of up against a super team of the good guys, but not unbeatable good guys, if that makes any sense. I'm not a big fan of Jack Perry taking the pin. But whatever. I mean, it is what it is. If anybody didn't see, Jack Perry is going to be going to GCW to team up with Marco Stunt, getting the band back together there. I love seeing him do all these things, but I don't like seeing him take a pin. Not right now. I just feel like he's somebody who in the past has been very pivotal for AEW, and I don't want to see him buried. Just saying. We do get a stare down with Andrade and Darby Allin, and then Young Bucks end up having to come out because there's an attack, and everybody in the world seems to get involved in this. Good stuff, solid stuff, builds some intrigue for Dynasty. It really does. Willow Nightingale, Queen Aminata for the TBS Championship was a solid match. All Nightingale's matches are. She comes out with the winner, retaining her championship, shaking hands afterward, which I absolutely love. That's when they got into the Jericho stuff, which I'm going to be honest with you, I really love the Jericho stuff. Him coming out, signing his new AEW contract, and saying that part of the terms of his contract was he got to pick his return opponent, which he picks the guy who interrupts him during this segment, Ricochet, and he will be facing Ricochet at Dynasty. They haven't said it yet. I hope it means it'll be for the championship. I'd like to see that. We go from there to Ciampa versus Mascara Dorada for the number one spot in the Dynasty TNT Championship Casino Gauntlet match, which, of course, I'm thrilled to say Tommaso Ciampa wins because I felt like he came into the company on fire and then cooled so quickly. So I'm glad to see he's going to get that spot. I think that's going to do well for him and really help push him forward. And I wouldn't be surprised if he walked away with the championship. When they go backstage, you got Dave Finlay, Clark Connors, and they're attacking Orange Cassidy and Roderick Strong. Gabe Kidd says that the conglomeration doesn't have anybody left, and they are basically coming for Mystico and Jet Speed, and they want the Trios Championships, and I'm sure they're going to get their opportunity also probably at Dynasty. We go from there. We hear from I was going to say Cope and Cage, but Adam Copeland and Christian Cage. What I didn't like about this, I didn't like Trent Beretta and Rocky Romero attacking Cope and Cage from behind. I do like seeing the beatdown. I think that's necessary to get some heat on Harwood and Wheeler. Then we see, there's a save made again, We're going to see that tag team championship. It's going to be great. I think this is a match that would have been better 6 months ago. I hate that we had to wait this long, but Edge was off filming a movie or whatever, so it makes sense. But I just think that we waited a little long, so it's not as exciting as I think it would have been 6 months ago. The Death Riders versus the United Empire in Chaos in Canada. Again, this was insane. This is absolutely insane. The United Empire walks out the winners. Callum Newman being there, and after just winning the New Japan Pro Wrestling IWGP Heavyweight Championship, like, that's awesome. So yeah, if you didn't get to see, if you want to see physicality, this is the opportunity to do that. We do get to hear from Kenny Omega having his conversation with MJF, who this match, I feel like Kenny is as close to, amazing match Kenny as he's going to get at this point. I think we've been waiting quite a long time for Kenny to get back to that level of performance, and I think this is the time where he is finally able to do that. And I hope that this means that we're going to see this version of Kenny going forward, because everybody's been concerned about his health, long-term ability to keep going in the ring, and it looks like there's a good chance that this is going to be able to be a legit thing where he can still go and still perform at that level. And I, for one, can't wait to see it, because I'm a huge fan of Kenny Omega to begin with. All his work has always been just top-notch for me, and this match now is exciting. That's all the time we have for this episode. Check back with us next episode. We run down the latest wrestling news and rumors. Special thanks, as always, to Suno for creating the music and sound effects we use in our show. Today's show is sponsored in part by Beazle Games. Bring a new friend to family game night. It's easy with Sketchy people. Showcase your artistic side from Beazle Games by going to thegamecrafter.com and picking up your copy today. If you're looking for your next career move, maybe you're considering college, university life, maybe you just need some formal training for your next career decision, go to our website at frolifeplanning.com for all your higher education needs, as Fro Life Educational Planning is for today, for tomorrow, for life with Fro Life. I'm Fred Froelich, better known as Dr. Fro. I want to thank you for taking a few moments with us today. Until next time, take care, everybody. Have a great night.